Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Spectacle, where I am your host, Spectre. I'll apologize for holding off the episode for a month. Truthfully, I was waiting for my ideal conditions for the subject of this episode, how to push and how to defend. I wanted it to be in a scrim environment with people I'd played with before, so I could get the best instance of synergy, eliminate the randomness of solo queue, and so forth. Since in past episodes we've discussed positioning, awareness, game sense, and all that jazz, we can now utilize that to talk about knowing when to push and when to defend, and how to go about both. In this video, I'll primarily focus backline, but the essentials and fundamentals can apply to midline and frontline as well. Sometimes it's more important how you are playing than what you are playing. With that, let's get started. Here, I've got a scrim in which I subbed for a team called Octopi, and we are playing against Vitamin C. If you'd like to keep up with them, I've left their Twitters in the descriptions below. Here, I was asked to play backline for them, so for me, it's all about playing anchor and being a safe way back in for the team. I keep repeating it, but it's true, that everything I've taught you thus far leads into the current lesson, so we're going to be keeping in mind positioning, game sense, awareness. One thing you want to think about when starting and defending pushes is to sense what's going on first. For me, I always try to keep an eye and ear out for how many of my teammates are alive, who has special, how many enemies are down. That's where we'll start. Keep an eye on how many enemies are up, and how many teammates are down. The most important thing to keep in mind is which side is outnumbered. If you've got 4 team-ups up and 2 teammates down, you should push. If the enemy has 4 people up and you are down 2 teammates, you should fall back. Seems simple, right? Well, what if you have 2 teammates up and 1 enemy up? What if there's 3 teammates up and 4 enemies up? Do you fall back still? Do you wait and hold mid? Do you try and push to make it even? This is what makes knowing how to push an art in itself. It relies so heavily on sensing the right moment to push to have that good decision making. For instance, let's take a look at a point in the match. If you didn't notice just a moment ago, I took out the enemy, the NZAP, but 2 of my teammates are also dead as well. This puts me in a 2v3 situation. 1 player difference doesn't seem like much, but we also have to consider what weapon I'm playing. As a charger, I can only take 1 shot and only shoot 1 enemy at a time. It's hard to keep multiple people at bay at once. Their charger is up, along with their blaster and their Tinotech. The enemy has the advantage. It's time for me to back up and get into defense mode. For defense, I make my priority the tower. Currently, the blaster and Tinotech seem to be preoccupied with my NZAP who is still alive. If the blaster had started shooting at me earlier, I would have backed off sooner. This is me using my awareness, seeing what's going on around me before positioning myself to defend the push. When people start their push, especially in modes like Tower Control and Rainmaker, they have no choice but to come toward you since they have to move the objective in your direction. In that instance, you have to keep in mind where people will push from, using your awareness. You'll have to use your game sense to see what's going on, how much time you have left, and where the objective is. And then, you'll have to position yourself accordingly. Here, I'll rewind the video back a little since I was talking over the start of our push. Once again, look at the top of the screen so you can see how many enemies are down and how many of my teammates are up, which enemies are up and which enemies are down. Previously, we had taken out the enemy in this instance so we could get the ball rolling. We had killed the NZAP again so we could continue making our push. To get a push going, one important thing you'll need is your specials. You can see that my teammates used armor to take a few more hits since, like I said earlier, we have to move the objective into enemy territory. I'm hanging back as well as the backliner and offering my teammates support. Once I get my Stingray, I do my best to support them by making enemies weaker or aiming at the enemy Stingray so it's not aiming at them instead. Fast forwarding in the match a little, I will use 2 sets of footage with the permission of Lily on the other team to show you what they did right and what we did wrong. Here, we've got my teammates dropping like flies. There are 3 teammates down and 4 enemies up, so here, I'm actually going to back up even more than usual. I want to get in a position where I'm not easily spotted either, because with 4 people up, they can easily overwhelm me and take me out before I even try to stall. On defense, think carefully about whether or not you can push your luck. Whether you're backline and you think you can make the shot, or you are mid-flank and think you could catch them all from behind, smarter people will be looking for you. Here, I'm backed up closer to spawn. I'm playing it much safer, because just like I use my specials to make our push, the enemy will be using theirs. I'm also not really near getting my own special, so I decide it's better to just use my weapon to try and take people out. My teammates are in somewhat good positions from the looks of things, right? Let's run back and look at Lily's point of view. Lily is painting around a little and slowly pushing forward. However, they're on their own and don't have a special. I catch them on their own and take them out. When you push, you want to keep in mind where the enemies are posted up. As the charger, I'll take Lily out before they can even reach me. The backliner is one of the most important people to take out when you're trying to make a push happen. Looking at Lily's overhead map, let's look at some things. If you remember a little earlier, I took out the charger, but I took a while to do it. This gave Lily enough time to respawn. Look at the top right corner. 2 of my teammates are down, me included, the backliner. With the backliner down, this makes Vitamin C's push much easier. There's also 3 of them up, the 3rd being Lily. Lily jumps back in because it's moderately safe. The sniper is down, so their jump can't be camped. By staying on the tower, they managed to squeeze the lead out. Vitamin C were able to use their specials to eventually get the lead. Not every push you make has to be the one big push. Slowly inching the tower forward and making the enemies trickle out one by one can slowly get you the lead, which is what Vitamin C made happen, even if a few of them went down. Fast forwarding, let's watch their point of view of us trying to make our last push. Lily was right to try and catch us from the side, now that we are looking at a non-backline point of view. However, looking at the top, you can see they only have 2 teammates up. Most importantly, their charger is down. This means they have no stingray to easily stop the tower. All 4 of my teammates are up, making this very good for us. Lily drops down, trying to get a flank, but I had already called them out to my teammates and they pounce on them immediately. They die, and that makes our push that much harder to defend. Lily respawns and tries to make a dash for the tower. Unfortunately, they rush out instead of painting a bit and get caught immediately by the Tinatech. This leaves no one to defend the push except the charger and those still respawning. When defending, be careful not to let desperation to stop the push run your movements. Slowing down just a tad might make all the difference. One last flip to my point of view for the same push. I take the charger out as my priority. The back line is usually my priority in any mode, but especially in tower control, I want to make sure that he can't have his stingray in time. I send him back to spawn. Even though I'm the back line, I have my special stingray. Letting someone else ride while I use it will keep people away from the tower. My thought at this moment was I need to make sure I kept the charger busy again. I don't want them charging a stingray to stop this push. Doing just that allows my teammates to swarm in, allowing them to overwhelm any remaining enemies. Since I've already used my special, I get on the tower and let my teammates go forward because they have weapons better suited to be in the face of the enemy. With the blaster down and the charger busy, I can ride the tower into overtime victory. I feel a tad all over the place, so I'd like to leave you with some key points before we head off. At its core, to start and defend pushes, you should keep in mind how many of your teammates are up and how many of your teammates are down. If you have more teammates up than enemies, make sure to use your advantage and get the ball rolling. If you have fewer teammates up than the enemy, try to hold your advantage by backing off and staying alive. Using your specials can be key to starting and stopping pushes. In splat zones, it can be stingray down the lanes of Port Mackerel to push enemies out and make them weak for your teammates to go in. On clamplets on Piranha Pit, some bubbles can zone the enemies away while you stall for your teammates to respawn. Keep in mind though that using a special to defend a push means you might not have a special to start one. Try and get your teammates to understand what you're doing. In a team environment, communicating to teammates that you want to move somewhere is essential. In a solo environment, hitting this way isn't exactly specific, but it can give a general idea. In almost all instances, taking out the backline is important. If the backline is down, that makes it easier for those with shorter range to move in and overwhelm the rest of the team. Learn to let a push die. There are some instances in where it's tempting to see if you can squeeze out a few more points, but you could end up dying and making things spiral further downhill for you and your team. Think carefully and sense if it's really a good idea to try and get the last clam in or make a dive for the zone. Lastly, put yourself in the enemy's shoes. Remember all those times you got flanked on a push. Keep an eye out for any flankers. Remember all those times the heavy splatling was up and pushed you back from doing anything. Try and take them out first. If you can think of how the enemy would move, you can prevent them from doing things to stop or start your push. That's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching. If you want to keep up with me, feel free to follow me on Twitter and Twitch and subscribe to this channel. All the links are in the description below. The next episode will be on what a friend and I like to call the flowchart of success. A huge thanks to Lily from Vitamin C for letting me use their footage for this video. I hope it was helpful to all of you. This has been your girl Spectre, and I will see y'all in the next video.